Hello there, and welcome to ASMR Calm Science. Tonight we're settling into something warm and familiar, a presence that has curled up beside humans for thousands of years without ever quite losing its wildness. Cats. Small, quiet, endlessly mysterious creatures that somehow manage to feel both entirely domestic and completely untamed at the same time. Tonight, we will explore the hidden biology behind the purr, the strange architecture of a cat's senses, the ancient history of how cats and humans first found each other, and the small, quiet behaviors that make cats feel like one of the calmest presences a home can hold. We will look at whiskers, sleep, memory, communication, and the strange, silent language cats use to move through the world. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, all you need to do is settle in. Let your shoulders soften, let your breathing slow, and allow your mind to rest into stillness as we explore the hidden science of cats together. Let's begin. A cat's purr may actually help heal bones and tissue, not just express contentment. Cats purr at a frequency range roughly between 25 and 150 hertz, a range that some researchers believe overlaps with frequencies known to promote bone density and tissue repair in laboratory studies. This has led to an interesting theory that purring may have evolved partly as a low-energy internal healing mechanism, allowing an often solitary, injury-prone animal to stimulate its own recovery simply by lying still and vibrating gently at exactly the right frequency. Whether or not this theory fully explains the purr's origin, it adds an extra layer of wonder to something so many people already find soothing: the possibility that the very sound calming you might be quietly repairing the cat as well. Cats do not only purr when happy. They sometimes purr while in pain, injured, or even while dying. This might seem contradictory at first, since purring is so closely associated with contentment. But veterinarians and researchers have long observed cats purring during clearly stressful or painful circumstances, including labor, injury, and the final stages of life. One leading theory suggests purring may function as a broader self-soothing and healing mechanism, rather than simply an emotional expression of happiness, something closer to a physiological tool the cat's body reaches for during moments of both comfort and distress alike. This reframes the purr slightly, less as a simple happiness signal, and more as an old, deeply wired biological response the cat's body turns to whenever calm or recovery is needed most. A cat's whiskers are so sensitive they can detect subtle changes in air currents, helping them navigate even in complete darkness. Whiskers, technically called vibrissae, are deeply rooted in a cat's face, connected to a dense network of nerve endings far more sensitive than the surrounding fur. As a cat moves through space, its whiskers detect tiny shifts in air currents bouncing off nearby objects, essentially allowing the cat to sense the presence and shape of things around it without needing to see or touch them directly. This remarkable sensitivity is part of why cats can navigate confidently through dark rooms or tight spaces, reading the subtle language of moving air the way we might read a lit room with our eyes. The width of a cat's whiskers roughly matches the width of its body, helping it judge whether a space is safe to enter. This is not simply a coincidental feature. Whiskers appear to function as a kind of built-in measuring tool, allowing a cat to quickly assess whether a gap or opening is wide enough for its body to pass through without becoming stuck. This explains why cats often pause briefly at a narrow opening, whiskers forward, before deciding whether to proceed. A small moment of careful measurement happening almost too quickly to notice. It is one of many small examples of how deeply practical a cat's seemingly delicate features actually are. Form and function woven together with quiet, elegant precision. Cats spend an enormous portion of their lives asleep, often between 12 and 16 hours a day. This places cats among the most frequently sleeping mammals, a pattern likely rooted in their evolutionary history as small predators, requiring careful energy conservation between short, intense bursts of hunting activity. Rather than one long, uninterrupted sleep, cats often break their rest into multiple shorter sleep periods scattered throughout the day and night, a pattern known as polyphasic sleep. This means a domestic cat curled up quietly on a couch is not simply being lazy, but is instead following an ancient, deeply ingrained rhythm, conserving energy exactly the way its wild ancestors needed to in order to remain ready for brief, sudden bursts of hunting activity. Much of a cat's sleep consists of light dozing rather than deep sleep, allowing them to remain alert to their surroundings even while resting. Cats have the ability to enter a lightly dozing state where their senses, particularly hearing, remain partially active even while their body rests. This allows a sleeping cat to wake almost instantly in response to an unusual sound or movement nearby, a useful trait inherited from a long evolutionary history as both hunter and potential prey. Only a smaller portion of a cat's overall sleep time is spent in deep, fully restorative sleep, meaning much of what looks like continuous rest is actually a much lighter, more responsive state than it initially appears. A cat quietly balancing genuine rest with constant readiness. A cat's eyes are specially adapted to see remarkably well in low light, though not in complete darkness. Cat eyes contain a high concentration of rod cells, which are especially sensitive to light, along with a reflective layer behind the retina called the tapetum lucidum, which bounces light back through the retina a second time, effectively doubling the amount of light available for the eye to process. This combination allows cats to see in conditions far dimmer than humans could ever manage, though they still require at least a small amount of ambient light to see anything at all. This adaptation likely evolved to support hunting during the low light hours of dawn and dusk, when many small prey animals are also most active. The reflective glow sometimes seen in a cat's eyes at night comes directly from that same light-bouncing layer behind the retina. When a light source, such as a flashlight or camera flash, hits a cat's eyes in a dark room, the tapetum lucidum reflects a portion of that light directly back out, producing the striking glow so often captured in photographs. This same reflective structure exists across many nocturnal and low-light active animals, though the specific color of the reflected glow can vary depending on the animal's eye pigmentation and the particular structure of their tapetum. In cats specifically, this glow often appears in shades of green, yellow, or occasionally blue, a quiet, visible signature of the same biological adaptation helping them see so well after dark. Cats have a specialized organ in the roof of their mouth that allows them to essentially taste scent in the air. This structure, called the vomeronasal organ, or Jacobson's organ, allows cats to process certain airborne chemical signals in a way that blends taste and smell together. You may have seen a cat make a strange, slightly open-mouthed grimace after sniffing something particularly interesting, a behavior called the phlegm response, which helps direct air toward this specialized organ for closer chemical analysis. This gives cats an entirely additional sensory channel beyond ordinary smell, allowing them to gather detailed information about pheromones, other animals, and their surrounding environment in a way human senses cannot directly replicate or fully understand.
A cat's sense of smell is many times more powerful than a human's, allowing them to detect scents far beyond human perception. Cats possess a significantly higher number of scent receptors compared with humans, giving them an extraordinarily refined sense of smell, used for everything from identifying food and territory to recognizing familiar people and other animals. This heightened sense of smell plays a central role in how cats understand and navigate their world, often relying on scent even more heavily than sight or hearing in certain situations. A quiet exploration around a room that might look aimless to us is often, from the cat's perspective, an extremely detailed and information-rich process of careful scent-based investigation.
Cats communicate with each other primarily through body language and scent, rather than vocal sounds. While cats do vocalize in various ways, meowing, hissing, chirping, much of their communication, particularly with other cats, happens through subtle body posture, tail position, ear orientation, and scent marking. In fact, adult cats rarely meow at each other at all, reserving that particular vocalization almost exclusively for communicating with humans, suggesting that meowing may have evolved, or at least been refined, specifically as a tool for interacting with the humans they live alongside. A kind of specialized language cats seem to have developed uniquely for us, rather than for each other.
The specific meow a cat uses toward humans is thought to be, at least partly, a learned behavior shaped by the relationship with their particular owner. Some research suggests cats may adjust the pitch, tone, and frequency of their meows based on what elicits the most reliable or favorable response from their specific human companions, essentially developing a somewhat individualized communication style unique to each particular cat-human relationship. This means the meow your own cat uses toward you may be subtly different from how the same cat might communicate with someone else entirely. A small, quiet form of personalized language built gradually over the shared time and repeated interactions between one particular cat and one particular person.
A cat's tail serves as an important tool for both balance and emotional communication. Physically, a cat's tail helps with balance during quick movements, sudden turns, and precise jumps, acting almost like a counterweight that allows for remarkably fine motor control during agile movement. At the same time, tail position and movement serve as a clear, visible signal of a cat's emotional state, a raised tail often indicating confidence or friendliness, a low or tucked tail suggesting fear or uncertainty, and a rapidly flicking tail sometimes signaling irritation or heightened alertness. Learning to read a cat's tail offers a surprisingly clear, direct window into what the cat may be feeling in any given moment.
Kneading, the rhythmic pressing motion cats often make with their front paws, is a behavior believed to originate from kitten nursing instincts. Young kittens knead against their mother while nursing to help stimulate milk flow, and many adult cats continue this same rhythmic pressing motion long into adulthood, often while feeling relaxed, content, or comfortable, sometimes directed toward a soft blanket, cushion, or a trusted person. This behavior is thought to represent a kind of retained comfort response, a physical echo of early nursing instincts carried forward into adult life, appearing specifically during moments when a cat feels safe, relaxed, and fully at ease within its immediate surroundings. Slow blinking from a cat is often interpreted as a genuine sign of trust and affection, sometimes described as a cat kiss. When a cat looks directly at you and slowly closes and reopens its eyes, rather than staring with wide, alert eyes, this behavior is generally understood by animal behaviorists as a voluntary signal of comfort and trust, since a cat would typically avoid closing its eyes for any extended period in the presence of something it perceived as threatening. Some research has even suggested that humans slow blinking back at a cat can help build or reinforce trust, essentially offering the cat a returned signal in a shared, quiet visual language built entirely around calm, deliberate softness. A cat's rough tongue is covered in tiny, backward-facing hook-like structures called papillae, designed specifically for grooming. These small, rigid structures, made of the same material as fingernails, allow a cat's tongue to function almost like a specialized comb, helping remove loose fur, dirt, and parasites during grooming, while also helping to detangle and distribute natural oils throughout their coat. This structure explains the distinctly rough, almost sandpaper-like texture of a cat's tongue against skin, a sensation many owners have experienced firsthand, revealing that even this small, everyday behavior of grooming relies on a remarkably specific, purpose-built physical adaptation. Grooming serves multiple purposes beyond simple cleanliness, including temperature regulation and stress relief. Beyond keeping their coat clean, cats also groom themselves to help regulate body temperature, since saliva evaporating from fur can provide a cooling effect similar to sweating in other animals. Grooming also appears to serve a self-soothing function, with many cats increasing grooming behavior specifically during moments of mild stress or anxiety, using the repetitive, familiar motion as a way to help calm themselves. This means the seemingly simple, everyday act of a cat cleaning itself often carries several overlapping practical and emotional functions, happening quietly all at once. Cats are obligate carnivores, meaning their bodies are biologically built to require meat specifically in order to survive and remain healthy. Unlike many other domesticated animals capable of thriving on a broader omnivorous diet, cats have a biological requirement for certain nutrients, such as taurine, that are found almost exclusively in animal tissue and cannot be efficiently produced by their own bodies or easily substituted through plant-based sources alone. This deeply rooted biological requirement reflects the cat's evolutionary history as a dedicated, specialized hunter, one whose entire physiology remains built around a diet centered specifically on meat, regardless of how comfortably domesticated and settled into human homes they have otherwise become.
Despite thousands of years of domestication, cats remain genetically very close to their wild ancestors compared with many other domesticated animals. Genetic studies comparing domestic cats with their closest wild ancestor, the African wildcat, reveal relatively few significant differences, especially when compared with the much more dramatic genetic divergence seen in domesticated dogs relative to wolves. This suggests that cats, in a biological sense, may still be considered only partially domesticated, retaining much of the instinctual behavior, physical capability, and independent nature of their wild ancestors, even after thousands of years spent living alongside and within human households and communities. Cats first began associating closely with humans thousands of years ago,
likely drawn initially by rodent populations near early human grain stores. As early human agricultural societies began storing surplus grain, these stores naturally attracted rodents, which in turn attracted wild cats seeking an easy, reliable food source. Over time, a mutually beneficial relationship gradually developed. Cats helped control rodent populations, while humans, likely recognizing this benefit, became increasingly tolerant of and eventually welcoming toward the cats living nearby. This gradual, largely self-directed process of domestication differs notably from many other domesticated animals, with cats essentially choosing at their own pace to move closer into human settlements, rather than being deliberately captured and selectively bred from the very beginning.
Ancient Egyptians held cats in extraordinarily high regard, sometimes even considering them sacred or divine. Cats held a significant, often elevated position in ancient Egyptian society, associated with several deities and frequently depicted in art, sculpture, and religious iconography throughout the civilization's long history. Harming a cat, even accidentally, could carry serious social or legal consequences in certain periods of ancient Egyptian history, and mummified cats have been discovered in significant numbers, suggesting a widespread and deeply held cultural reverence toward these animals. This ancient regard offers a striking historical parallel to the quiet, gentle affection so many people still hold for cats today, a connection stretching back, in some form, for thousands of continuous years.
A cat's collarbone is not connected to other bones the way it is in many other mammals, contributing to their remarkable flexibility. Unlike humans and many other animals, a cat's collarbone, or clavicle, is essentially embedded within muscle tissue rather than being rigidly connected to the shoulder and chest skeleton. This unique skeletal arrangement contributes significantly to a cat's extraordinary flexibility, allowing them to twist their body, squeeze through remarkably narrow gaps, and perform the kind of fluid, almost boneless-looking movements so often associated with cats. This small, specific anatomical difference plays a surprisingly large role in shaping the graceful, adaptable physical movements so characteristic of cats overall. Cats have an exceptional righting reflex, allowing most of them to reorient themselves and land on their feet during a fall. This reflex, developed very early in kittenhood, relies on a highly sensitive inner ear balance system, combined with the cat's naturally flexible spine, allowing them to quickly sense their orientation during a fall and twist their body accordingly, typically rotating the front half of their body first, followed closely by the rear half, before extending their legs to help absorb the impact upon landing. While this reflex significantly improves a cat's chances of landing safely, it does not make falls from any height entirely harmless, and very short falls can sometimes leave too little time for the full reflex sequence to properly complete. Cats have excellent hearing, capable of detecting a significantly wider range of frequencies than humans can perceive. A cat's hearing range extends considerably higher than human hearing, allowing them to detect very high-pitched sounds, including certain frequencies produced by small rodents that remain completely inaudible to human ears. This heightened auditory sensitivity likely evolved specifically to support hunting, allowing cats to detect the subtle, high-pitched sounds small prey animals often make while moving through grass or other cover. Even a seemingly quiet, calm domestic environment is, from a cat's perspective, filled with a much richer and more detailed layer of sound than humans are ever able to perceive or fully appreciate. Each cat's nose print is considered unique, similar to how human fingerprints differ from person to person. The specific pattern of ridges and bumps found on a cat's nose is believed to be entirely unique to each individual animal, much like human fingerprints, offering a distinctive, permanent physical identifier specific to that particular cat alone. While nose prints are not commonly used for practical identification purposes the way fingerprints sometimes are for humans, their existence offers a small, quietly charming reminder that even in something as seemingly minor and overlooked as the texture of a cat's nose, nature has still found room for individual, permanent uniqueness.
A cat's whiskers are not limited to their face. Additional whiskers can also be found above their eyes, on their chin, and on the backs of their front legs. These additional whisker locations serve related but slightly different sensory purposes. Whiskers above the eyes may help protect against injury by triggering a protective blink reflex if something comes too close, while the whiskers on the backs of the front legs may assist in detecting the movement and position of prey during a hunt, particularly useful in situations where a cat's direct line of sight might otherwise be partially blocked by their own body during a close physical struggle.
Domestic cats are capable of running in short, powerful bursts of speed, though they lack the sustained endurance of many other predators. A domestic cat can reach speeds of roughly 30 miles per hour during a short sprint, more than sufficient for catching most small prey over the brief distances typically involved in a real hunting scenario. However, this speed comes specifically in short, explosive bursts, rather than sustained endurance running, reflecting an evolutionary strategy built around close-range stalking, followed by a brief, decisive chase, rather than the kind of extended pursuit hunting strategy used by certain other predator species built for longer-distance stamina instead.
Cats often knead, purr, and settle onto blankets or laps, specifically because these actions closely mirror comforting behaviors first experienced during early kittenhood. Beyond kneading specifically, several common adult cat behaviors, curling into a small, tight ball, seeking out warm, enclosed spaces, or pressing gently against a person or object, appear to echo early comfort-seeking behaviors first developed during kittenhood, particularly behaviors associated with nursing and staying close to their mother for warmth and safety. This suggests that many small, familiar adult cat behaviors may carry within them a quiet, lifelong echo of comfort patterns first established during their very earliest days of life.
Cats are known to sometimes bring their owners small gifts, such as captured prey, a behavior believed to be rooted in maternal teaching instincts. In the wild, mother cats will often bring live or recently killed prey back to their kittens as part of teaching them essential hunting skills, gradually helping the young cats learn to recognize, chase, and eventually kill prey on their own. Some behaviorists believe domestic cats occasionally extend this same instinctual behavior toward their human owners, effectively treating them as a kind of surrogate kitten in need of similar teaching, or alternatively, viewing the gift as a genuine, if unconventional, offering meant to be shared with a trusted, valued member of their immediate household.
A cat's ears contain numerous individual muscles, allowing for a remarkable degree of independent movement and precise directional control. Each of a cat's ears can rotate independently, controlled by a set of small, highly responsive muscles, allowing a cat to precisely pinpoint the direction of a specific sound without needing to move its entire head or body. This gives cats an extremely refined auditory tracking ability, useful both for detecting potential prey and for remaining alert to any unexpected movement or sound occurring nearby, all while the rest of the body remains completely still and calm, conserving energy until any actual response becomes genuinely necessary.
Cats often choose to sleep in warm, sunlit spots, specifically because their preferred body temperature runs slightly higher than that of humans. A cat's normal resting body temperature typically sits a few degrees higher than a human's average body temperature, meaning cats often naturally seek out additional warmth, sunbeams, heating vents, or cozy blankets, in order to remain comfortably within their own preferred temperature range. This simple biological difference helps explain why cats so consistently gravitate toward warm surfaces and sunlit areas throughout the day. A quiet, entirely practical behavior driven by their own particular internal thermostat, rather than any particular attachment to comfort or luxury for its own sake.
Many cats display a strong preference for elevated resting positions, a behavior rooted in both safety instincts and a desire for observation. In the wild, elevated positions offer clear advantages, a broader vantage point for spotting both potential prey and potential threats, along with a greater sense of physical safety from ground-level predators. Domestic cats often retain this same instinctive preference, frequently choosing to rest or observe their surroundings from elevated furniture, shelves, or windowsills whenever available. This behavior reflects a deeply ingrained evolutionary strategy, one that continues to shape even the seemingly simple, everyday choice of where a comfortable, contented house cat decides to settle down and rest.
Cats possess an excellent memory for locations, routines, and specific individuals, though their memory functions somewhat differently than human memory. Research into feline cognition suggests cats are capable of retaining both short-term and long-term memories, particularly related to spatial navigation, established routines, and recognition of familiar people and animals. Some studies suggest cats may even remember specific past experiences with particular outcomes, adjusting their future behavior accordingly based on what previously led